We have a wonderful guest today, Miss Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn. Why don't you tell everyone what you do and who you are?
I'm Joselyn Miller. I am the founder of Motherhood Strong and an owner at Coefficient CrossFit. And my passion is helping moms navigate fitness during preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum, and just that whole motherhood transition.
Yeah, wonderful. And how long have you had Motherhood Strong, like officially?
Yes, I filed for my LLC in 2018. My oldest daughter was like 4 months old. And I knew that just being not just being a stay-at-home mom, but being a stay-at-home mom was not enough for me. I was trying to navigate who I was as a new mom. And so I opened Motherhood Strong kind of by accident when she was 4 months old. So I'm on year 8.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Is this your very first? Was that after your first child? How
Yes.
many kids do
So
you have now?
I am pregnant with my fourth. I'm having a
Oh,
baby next month, or
oh my
maybe
gosh.
we'll see when she comes.
Sometime soon. Well, congratulations.
Thank
I think,
you.
that's a topic that's come up a couple times with past guests as well, and among conversations with women is how much, you have a child, and like so much of society tells us that your whole definition of that your mom is like how you define yourself is through motherhood. But I think so many women still have that experience of, but there's other pieces of me not being expressed. Can you talk more about how that you came to this decision to pursue this with, especially with such a young child and being like, I this business?
Yes. So my background is actually in dance. I used to be a professional ballerina. I found CrossFit when I was navigating like the beginning of my career, and they definitely go hand in hand. I think the strength and conditioning component of CrossFit really helped to accelerate my dance career. At that time, I was living in Houston, Texas, away from my family and away from the Midwest where I had grown up and where I really identified as my home. And I was newly married, but we got pregnant and on purpose, like we planned to. And I just knew that I needed to go home. I needed to be around my people. My husband travels for work. So I was in a performance. My last performance, I was 7 months pregnant with my first.
Wow.
And I had just this like general knowing that that was my last performance, that I wasn't going to be pursuing dance anymore. I was moving away from the career that I had built. I knew that I was kind of burnt out on dance. It was a love and a passion of mine that I had found identity in, but it wasn't serving me at that time. So I 100% used the move and motherhood to like find my exit there, and I took my final bow, and that was it. It was like a pretty little bow on top of that journey. At the time I didn't I knew it was my last, but I was grieving it. So I became a mom, and I was in a new to me city. We moved to St. Charles. I had never lived in St. Charles. I didn't really have friends. I didn't really have mom friends, but I had CrossFit. So my husband and I joined a local gym, and I had been coaching CrossFit in Houston a little bit alongside my dance career. And so I was kind of seeking out coaching in the St. Charles area, but my body was incredibly different. And so my athlete brain was like, just go hard, like just find intensity and find athleticism. But I was experiencing the symptoms of motherhood physically, like incontinence and pelvic pain, and my boobs were huge and I was leaky, and I kept looking to the coaches around me going like, how do I keep up this level of athleticism when everything hurts and I'm dying? Like,
Mm,
what do I do? And nobody knew. Nobody, or if they did, it was like their lived experience, which in the CrossFit world at that time was very much like, well, you just wear a pad and you just keep going. Like, yeah, you pee a little, it's fine. But it wasn't fine for me. And so I started researching and navigating helping myself. And then other women started, I was coaching then at that time. And other women started coming to me saying, well, I pee a little when I work out, or I have terrible pelvic pain when I do this movement. I heard you can help yourself. Can you help me? And so that's kind of how my business was born, was just like a women's need. They were already coming to me with questions. And so I saw an opportunity to help more people.
First of all, that's a lot of transitions at once.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It was so much. Yeah.
Holy cow. And I will say, like Megan and I have talked about this because I go to your gym, Jocelyn, and we are familiar with CrossFit because I feel like chiropractic world, CrossFit world, it like
They're so
over
meshed.
overlaps a lot. And for like the longest time, chiropractors like, oh, CrossFit, okay, I guess you're gonna be coming in here with an injury every other week. But I will say, I feel like Coefficient does such a beautiful job at tailoring workouts or adapting workouts for whatever stage of athleticism you're at, or like for motherhood, whatever stage motherhood you're at, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah, I think in general, the world of CrossFit has gotten wiser, but
Hmm.
I do think that the culture at the gym that we've built is unique and different as well. So kind of both of those. Yeah.
Well, something I do, I go to CrossFit here and I did CrossFit 10 years ago and then I rejoined
Okay.
at my husband's request recently. And it's so fascinating the difference in the culture
Yeah.
just in that period. Because before, back probably similar to the time you were doing it, and a little bit before, it was just a very masculine feel, even how like the workouts was tailored for men and then women, you get to like, you can scale it for you, but it wasn't about our bodies, which do function different. Even the way like our pelvis moves with a squat is different than the way a man experiences that. And so it is interesting now how more people are like one, my gym has more women in my classes than men. And I'm sure, I think a lot of CrossFit gyms are like that. Like women are showing up and saying like, especially like former athletes like you.
Yeah.
And actually all of us, well, Skylar and I also did athletics through college. So it's like people who want to continue that and finding that safe spot because I found like 10 years ago, I actually got injured in CrossFit because of the lack of like understanding of the body and injuries and scaling and so many complicated things. And now it's like a whole different approach, but I do think it's amazing. Like when there's someone like you in charge who is like, I understand women, I have this need, I dug deeper, and then I formed this specifically for moms because like the stuff you're talking about, more women are experiencing that than is being talked about. So like having that safe spot to say, I'm athletic, I like being in shape, but also I have this pain and these other complications.
I totally agree. Um, and we truly are in a generation that women get to prioritize their fitness goals more than any other. So we're not stuck with step aerobics and Pilates. We are maybe the first generation of women that have touched barbells and enjoy doing so and try ultra marathons and do all these crazy things. So I think that's really cool.
Well, and women are excelling at them. I just saw like that one, like, I can't remember what race it was like a 250 miles, and a woman won it and like broke a whole record. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, we are
Cool.
competing and doing cool things.
Yeah, so cool.
How has your Motherhood Strong, how has that evolved over since you started it till now? Like what's that evolution been like?
Oh, it's been a journey. So I originally started with a certification that was very broad, and I was offering services to people, but I didn't feel like I was prepared per se. Like I was constantly doing my more of my own research and education, and I kind of stumbled on this other certification. So I'm now certified through Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism, which is founded by Brianna Battles, and it has been a godsend. She's constantly updating her information. I have access to relevant new studies at my fingertips through her organization all the time. When you're a PPA coach, you get to access that for eternity, which is wonderful. So I do feel like just that little bit in my education has helped so much, but my offerings have also changed quite a bit. I started with 2 days a week in the evenings, and I'm now able to offer Monday through Friday a morning class and Monday through Thursday an evening class for Motherhood Strong. I have a staff of three other coaches, which I've never had before. And so we're growing, which is really great. Um, and it's been, I mean, there was a pandemic in that time, so that was a huge transition. I moved all my classes online for a period of time, and that kind of introduced the world of online coaching to me, which I do, but is not my most favorite mode of coaching. Um, and so yeah, like I've seen these like ebbs and flows going into having another baby. I was just telling somebody this is the first time that I'll get a maternity leave because for so long I was the business. It was me. That was it. And so having a team of like-minded, educated coaches, they all have their pregnancy and postpartum athleticism certification as well. It's just like it's an amazing feeling to like know that this baby that I have created, I view Motherhood Strong as like my other child. I can put that safely in their hands for a few weeks and everything's gonna be fine. That feels monumental to me.
Actually, the one of the coolest things I think you have going on with Motherhood Strong, Jocelyn, is well, obviously the workouts are amazing and people love it and come for that. But like the community with it
Yes. Yeah.
is so wonderful.
I think that goes hand in hand with the childcare program that we have at
Mhm.
Coefficient. So, I could at Coefficient CrossFit, we have free childcare in all of our classes except for the super early morning ones. And the way that I run that, is I exchange an unlimited membership for their time. So they commit 7 shifts a month to me, and I give them an unlimited membership. And 90% of my childcare workers take the Motherhood Strong classes primarily. They might transition into CrossFit classes eventually, but they usually start with those Motherhood Strong. And so they are back there with each other's kids daily, whether they're in class or watching kids in childcare. And I think that like nurturing, loving bubble of childcare helps that Motherhood Strong community. And I mean, there is community outside of the childcare workers. They're just a big part of it. But I agree. I think the community aspect is essential in 2026. I think people are really hungry for that. I joke sometimes that we're kind of like a church, but we're that feels a little sacrilegious to say. So, but the parts of church that people seek out of community and camaraderie and like-mindedness, I think we are providing as a gym.
When did you become owner of the CrossFit gym through this too?
Yeah, we opened Coefficient in September of 2023. So we're a baby. We are 2.5.
Okay. So you did, just for like timeline, you did this Motherhood Strong first in
Mhm.
another gym and then transitioned to the ownership of your own gym.
That's correct. Yeah, I rented space from two other gyms. They were both wonderful and served me well in the time
Hmm.
that Motherhood Strong was there. And then when we created Coefficient, I was able to bring Motherhood Strong into that space, and kind of put on like another hat of like gym owner as well as program owner. And I really did see Motherhood Strong take off when we were in our own space there.
Yeah. How do you feel like the work for women who are like listening, especially in your area? They might be doing CrossFit, but how is Motherhood Strong different? Like, what are the specifics that set it apart?
Yeah, I love that question. I think like you can get a good workout in most gyms. You can find online programming in most gyms. I think the expertise that I provide and that my coaches provide with like it's like a magnifying glass on this season of transition. that is unique, but I do think that community component is probably the most unique part is like you're welcomed into this unofficial sisterhood the moment you walk into the door. Um, yeah. And
Yes.
um, I think especially in pregnancy, people feel like that's a super fragile time, but I witnessed that postpartum is when my mom clients need us the most. It's isolating, it's cumbersome, your body is totally wackadoodle, and I feel like if you can plug in pregnancy, then you're set up for success in postpartum in the space that we have created. So I love watching that as when people are like, I'm still strong, I'm still capable, I'm gonna lift this barbell pregnant, I'm going to do all these things. Then I kind of watch them crumble, which I don't want to watch anybody crumble, but it's inherent that you have to postpartum. And then I see them build back up postpartum, and that is so rewarding for me as a coach of like knowing that this space that we've created makes space for that.
That's pretty cool. That is something that I mean, I was not here when I was pregnant, but I personally experienced that pregnant with Cricket. I felt so strong, so great. I mean, I was hiking when we were in Montana, Megan, like 20 some miles, 6 months pregnant. I was
I
like,
was so impressed.
woo.
I was like, you were like, I feel so good. I was like, yes, you go.
And then I had him and I was like, what am I? Who am I? How do I walk? Like it was terrible.
Yeah.
Mm,
I had a very, very hard time. And then I started with you guys. I don't even think I was a year postpartum, maybe a year. Or no, no, no.
Cricket was
Me?
probably two.
No, I think he was only just one, maybe 14 months.
Okay.
He was little.
You've been with us for so long, and it
I
just
know, it doesn't feel like that long.
how long have
Um,
you been in St. Louis?
um, we moved when he was 9 months old,
Mm,
and he's now almost 3.5.
man, time flies.
it does.
Yeah. But I will say, what I was going with that story was I feel stronger now through the gym than I have since I was a collegiate athlete. And I feel I am more supported than I've been since probably like college when you just are like around people all the time and
Yeah.
have that natural support. Yeah.
I think community is such a big part of that, but I love to hear that. Thank you for telling me.
Hmm.
Building community is hard though. So it's very impressive of a testimony. Because I mean, I think community is a buzzword people say a lot,
Yes.
but to actually have built something that people feel a sense of belonging with
Yeah.
is huge.
I think something unique about Coefficient itself is that we have five owners.
Oh
So
wow.
it's not just me, it's my husband and I, another couple that are older than us. They're about 15 years older than us, and then our head coach, Joe. So together that makes five. And we each bring something really unique to the table. Like obviously family and motherhood and young kids and just that in the trenches era of life is my forte. But Matt and Amy, our co-owners, they are really great at pulling in the people who are maybe established parents or ha empty nesters
Mm.
and connecting with them in a way that I have never done that before. So they're experiencing that in real time. Their sons are much older. Um, so they create that community. And then Joe is just like I describe him as a golden retriever. He can connect with anybody at any time. He has a real energy about him. And so like that unique group of five people is really to credit for that. Like I would love to say it's all me, but it's not. We're a team effort.
Well, five people owning is not the usual you would see. How do you navigate that? I feel like that's a lot of personalities to
It
like
is.
make decisions on a business. Like how would you navigate that? Or how do you?
It's really fun and interesting. We actually have a owners meeting tonight, but we have found getting in person is critical because text message business running is terrible. So much can be misconstrued and misunderstood. So we get together in person. That helps. My husband in particular, he's our CEO. This man probably came out of the womb with a business plan. Um, and so he's kind of like the driver, and Matt, on the other hand, he's a lawyer. He works in corporate law of some sort. I don't really actually know what he does. I know he's a lawyer, but he is a little more tempered. And so they kind of balance each other. They let me kind of do whatever I want with my chunk of the world. And Amy enjoys the back seat, so that kind of helps. And then Joe has all these ideas for the athletic part of the experience, and so we kind of let him head that. But yeah, all of our personalities just kind of balance each other, and that really helps.
So it sounds like you all each have your role and you're like, this is my lane and what you
Yes.
do.
Yeah. And there's times when we have to like cross over into each other's lanes to be like, hey, hold on. Like I see where you're going, but we gotta pull you back or we gotta shove you forward. And as long as we have good communication, it works.
Like it's like a unique unicorn situation. Because when I found that out, I was like, huh?
Uh-huh.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah,
But it goes great.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky with that. If someone told me that, I would have been like,
Yeah.
that's
And
too
I do
much.
think being two married couples, that does help because it's like three owners.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably would help a lot. Um, how do you do it with motherhood too? I mean, you have a full house, you're running basically two businesses here. Like
Yeah.
how do you like navigate your life? Like what does that look like? Because I
Oh,
think a lot of women like see this and then they're like, but I feel so overwhelmed by, just my one child or, so like give some
um,
insight.
I don't do anything perfectly ever. I have to be okay with strange timelines and putting things down to pick things up just to go back and pick it up again. Um, I don't have a normal like work day ever because you never know when school's going to call and someone's puking or maybe they're off school for some silly holiday or whatever. So I dream of the time when I can just like sit down for uninterrupted hours and get work done, but accepting that that is not my reality and that there are times where I'm programming at gymnastics, watching my kid do the balance beam, and accepting that um, I will often work at 9 p.m. and get some of that admin stuff done is kind of where I live in my workspace. And being okay with boundaries. For example, I'm trying to hire childcare workers right now, and I got a slew of text messages of people applying at like 6 p.m. on a Friday, and it was like, well, I'm not answering those right now. They'll be there. They'll still be there. And I think honestly, growing that backbone for myself of those firm boundaries um has made me more professional in a way. So I am a people pleaser. I live to serve people. But knowing that my kids and my family have to be my number one has helped me to be a professional in the space by saying like, I see you and I hear you and I will be with you on Monday morning. That's been important.
That is incredibly hard. I feel
It's so
I'm
hard.
so glad you like shared that though, because people, we're all in the service industry. And when you're in the service industry with the service heart, I mean, it's so easy to bleed over into any personal time, family time, be like, I have to serve first.
Yeah.
But don't you feel like it makes you better at serving when you have those boundaries?
100%, 100%. And I think you probably, I assume that you work in some capacity with mothers as well, but like serving moms, um, like I get it. I know where they're at because I'm literally in the trenches with them. Um, so I know that they're texting me at 9 p.m. because that's when they're sitting down for the first time. Um, but they also understand if I can't respond back or whatever, because I'm also a mom.
One thing you saying like I don't do anything perfectly and that you are like have to kind of like be flexible and adapt. I think that's a good lesson because I think I definitely see in myself like when we go into like when you feel like you don't have control, you're like, well, I got to control it more.
Yes.
And it never works out really great for any of us.
I know. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think if you look at like our grandmothers and our mothers, like they were warrior women, but they had structure that I don't think lends itself to 2026. And so I know I personally can like hold myself to that standard. I come from a long line of wonderful mothers. My mom, my grandmas were amazing women, but they didn't have two businesses and work the way that I do. And so I've learned to like let some of that go. Pick it up if I want to. If I want to be Betty Crocker today and make banana bread, cool. But that might mean that I don't respond to emails, and that's okay.
I also feel like our parents and grandparents, a lot of the women made a huge sacrifice on their own personal dreams and desires,
Yeah.
which is something, like that can be very admirable. But at the same time, like the example of give up everything of yourself, or at least put it on pause until after the kids are out of the house. And then you see them in retirement being like, now I have interests. And it's like, well, what would life had looked like if you had pursued these dreams
Right.
while you were raising the kids? And you're right. It's like, it's a completely different kind of motherhood.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, if you're to transition a little bit, I do have a question that you put in there if you're not comfortable talking about it, but you had a pretty big loss.
Yeah.
Um, Navigating that, I mean, that's something that's absolutely tragic. And um, a lot of women go through it, but there's not a lot of spaces to talk about it or hear stories. Would you mind sharing a little bit?
For sure. So, Patrick and I always knew we wanted a larger family, probably four kids. That was always like kind of our hope. And we got pregnant so very easily with our first two. We struggled a little bit more with our third, but we kind of nailed that down to some of his side of the equation. And so we got pregnant with our third when he remedied some things on his end, and it was no big deal. And we had her. And so we had three daughters. And it, about 3 years ago, we decided that it was time to try again for that fourth. Our third daughter was about one. And it was really hard again. So we struggled to conceive for about a year, which can be really challenging in your brain. Um, and we didn't really know if it was like, are we just getting old or like what is going on? Again, we kind of changed some of his medications and some of his stuff, and then we got pregnant again, and we were very excited, and we had no history of loss or anything like that. And so we just kind of naively assumed, like, awesome, two lines on a pregnancy test, we're good to go. We were also that season was tumultuous because the gym was like 6 months old. And we were moving. We were moving houses, which we had been in our home for 7 years. And so, it's an undertaking. It happened very quickly. The decision to move was pretty much overnight and like spontaneous. And so we were still in the St. Charles area, but it was a big undertaking. Um, Shortly after moving in, I started bleeding and we lost that baby. And as soon as I started bleeding, I kind of knew like, well, this is it. Again, super naively, I'm like, well, one in four. We've checked that box. We checked the loss box. That makes sense statistically. We should be good to go from here. It took us a little while to get pregnant again after that loss. That was in September of 2024. Um, It took us a few months. We got pregnant again. Everything was looking really good. After having been through a loss, I was doing a little more like monitoring of the pregnancy, and I was getting blood draws and all my numbers looked good. HCG was doubling. We saw the baby on the ultrasound twice. That baby looked great. I assume it's a girl because that's kind of what I make. I just make girls. Um, and everything was looking so good. We had lost our dog in that winter, kind of unexpectedly. He got sick and passed away. He was older, but like it still kind of rocked us because like many millennials, we got dogs before babies, and he was our first baby, and that kind of sucked. So like we were sad about the baby we lost when we lost our dog, but we had this other dog. On the day of like my third ultrasound, our other dog got diagnosed with brain cancer. And we went to an ultrasound and our baby had passed away inside of my tummy. So, um, that was a hell of a day because it was like, oh, okay. Um, and I I'm a very like naturally minded individual. And so I was hoping that my body would pass the baby, and I chose not to do a DNC or take any medication to help my body do that. I think part of that was stubbornness, and also part of me wanted to physically experience that loss. Like I needed that physical part of it in order to process that the baby was gone. Um, I don't know if you've had a loss, Skylar. I know you have. Um, but it's very much like a mini labor when you are that far along. I was like 11 weeks. So your body goes through a mini labor and delivery. I waited around for 2 weeks for that to happen, for my body to let go of that pregnancy. And it was a lot. I passed the baby in my shower, and like it was it was traumatic, but it was healing at the same time. Like I had a little thing that I held in my hand, and then I joke that I do have pretty dark humor. That's kind of part of my coping mechanism. And we like said hello to this little being that came out of me that was dead, and then we flushed it down the toilet because like what else do you do with it? Um, so that happened. Our other dog passed away shortly after that from the brain cancer. And we were like, damn, that's that's a lot. Throughout this whole thing, we're building our business, building the gym up, finishing the basement in the home that we just purchased. My living daughters were obviously experiencing their parents experience this, and we were trying to protect them, but like grieve and process on our own. And I'm sure that they picked up on that season. My middle daughter had some health struggles that were really hard to navigate throughout all of this too. Um, but we kind of turned a corner in the spring. So I feel like spring is like such a seasonal like awakening and aware, like everything kind of refreshes, right? My daughter's health was getting better. Um, my health was getting better because just physically, that's a lot to carry 2 losses back to back. So I was starting to feel kind of more like myself again, and like lift heavy things again. But our hearts still really wanted a fourth baby. So we got pregnant again, which was awesome. And we carried that pregnancy through the summer. We had put it at the same time as we were finishing our basement, we were building a pool because why not?
You do so much. You have so much going on during this time.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind of a season. Like so much construction and happening, and I mean all good things. We were building, I call it our castle because it's like we looked at our 3 daughters and we wanted to build like the home that they wanted to come back to when they were adults. Like we are like 20 years down the road in our head with these plans. So we carried that pregnancy through the summer. I have great memories of just like swimming in the pool with the kids with a little baby bump. Again, I was doing some extra monitoring. Things were looking really good. Numbers were looking really good. We we exhaled because of how great things were looking, and I had an appointment scheduled. I actually brought my youngest daughter with me because I had exhaled and like we were past the hump. Um, and we went to that ultrasound, and the baby had passed away in my stomach again. So that was an interesting day because that time I had Allison with me and I was still wearing like mom to a 3-year-old hat, but I was like I crumbled in that space at that time. Um, I still had to drive home. I had to get this kiddo home safely. I just remember like laying on that ultrasound table, like just wanting to like evaporate off of the table. Like just get me out of here. Like I'll be fine. Um, that time I decided to do a DNC. I felt like I had lived my pass it on your own experience, and like that box was checked, and was like my mindset this time was very much like just get this thing out of me so that I can go on with my life. And I was supposed to leave town in 2 days. So my delightful OB helped me get into the operating room the next day. I had a DNC. It was horrible and wonderful in many ways. I say that because I think no one really talks about that part of miscarriage of like, okay, the baby died. How are you going to get it out of your body? Um, and then I went on a trip the next day. I got on a plane. So that I was going to the CrossFit Games. I was a spectator, not participating in the CrossFit Games, but distraction and its finest was a good thing for me in that time. So yeah, I had 3 losses in less than a year and wasn't sure if that fourth kiddo that we wanted so badly was an option, but um navigating my daughter's health journey had given me kind of a glimpse into how to advocate. Because as a mom, you will do anything for your kids. You'll go to war for them. And I did that for her to help find answers. And I kind of had this realization of like, I think my team of care providers will help me if I advocate for exactly what I need. So I ended up finding a functional health doctor who worked directly with I'm sorry, she wasn't a doctor. She was a functional health nutritionist. Um, she worked directly with my OB, and we ran all these labs, and I did ultrasounds on my body, and like just like we were exploring like why in the world could I hold 3 pregnancies with no issue, and what changed that I had 3 miscarriages back to back. Um, and we discovered that I have a blood clotting disorder. So um, it's likely that this like gene that I had turned on, maybe I had COVID at some point, maybe, bodies change, like maybe something just happened. Um, I really do think bodies are like fluid, like we change as we age and everything with that. So I don't know why I had no issues with the blood clotting disorder previously, but we do think that that is what caused my miscarriages. Um, and so I started taking a blood thinner, which felt strange because it was an injection in my stomach every day. So I proudly wore this like crunchy mom persona for so long, and then I was like completely pivoting and injecting myself with a medication every day. So that was a little funky, but it worked. I got pregnant again in September. I'm 33 weeks pregnant now. I took the blood thinner injection every day until I was 26 weeks pregnant, and then I could wean off of that. It's something that they'll keep an eye on when I deliver. The disorder that I have, my blood clots easily. So that's why I was on a blood thinner. And they think that that was cutting off my blood supply to the placenta and miscarrying babies. Um, so I don't think I'm at risk for like hemorrhage or anything giving birth to this little one, but it is definitely changing my birth experience and my birth plans. I've previously delivered with midwives, and I was in a hospital setting, but with natural-minded midwives. The OB that helped me is incredibly kind and known for her open-mindedness to birth and her ability to help deliver unmedicated births in a hospital setting. So I know that I'm in good hands, but the hospital I'm delivering in is different. The nursing staff is different. And just like the armor I'm wearing going into this birth is different. So, I've been doing a lot of processing of all of this in the last couple of days as the calendar keeps ticking down towards, I call it D-Day, because it is kind of like our own personal D-Days. Um, but yeah, that's been kind of my journey into this pregnancy and just like navigating loss with living children. And the dog component of that just felt like so rude. We had these two happy little French bulldogs that were part of our world that like they both left us in a 2 month time period, and like that sucked. And helping my kids like navigate that too. So we had kept the first miscarriage pretty quiet from our children. That was an earlier loss, so it was a little easier. But like the second and the third one, my body looked pregnant and then didn't look pregnant anymore. And so my kids are 8, 6, and 3. The older two especially picked up on things. And so um, I had to learn how to like grieve and help them grieve, but they didn't really even know what they were grieving. Like their child brain didn't know all of the impact of that. They just knew mom and dad were struggling. So, yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like there's a lot there. But a lot of people experience loss and it's very devastating. And so thank you for sharing. I
Yeah.
think one of the things like I picked up on your story though, is that like that advocating for yourself. I do see this in so many of my patients and friends. Like they'll do anything for their kids. They will go to war and fight. And then for their own, health concerns that might show up, it's like it's like the warriors steps aside, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just so uncomfortable to even advocate for ourselves,
Right.
for a myriad of reasons. But I think it's really great when people hear like, would you have even found something like this if you didn't, advocate and you didn't use a mixture of holistic and traditional medicine,
Right.
to manage and discover.
Right.
So I do think building a team is really important and advocating for yourself, and especially in such a
Yes.
complicated state that you went through.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's really easy to take a backseat to your own medical health. And you kind of have to feel like the squeaky wheel to get the answers you need sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Lovenox. That's the blood thinner that's kept this kiddo inside of me. So
Yeah. Is it more autoimmune based, like blood,
um
or just a genetic
the
component?
genetic
Which,
component.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by it because it is interesting. There's been other people we've talked to, who, their bodies are fine and then certain stresses come in and just as a trigger.
Yeah,
So it's, sometimes it's so like outside influences that people
yes,
don't even,
right.
it's nothing you can control, but just turns on the epigenetics.
Yes. I think one of the most frustrating parts was that it took 3 losses to get to those answers. Like in our medical society, it's like it's not a problem until it's a really big problem.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
it's very much how I feel retroactively. It's so common to lose a pregnancy that, well, it's like, well, yeah, just try again. So I am now like being in the motherhood space, kind of awakened to that, and like kind of I help other people start to demand that that's not good enough. Like, no, I want to figure out why. And that said, that there's a juxtaposition there of like sometimes we just don't know. Like
Mm.
it turns out that we sometimes just don't have the control and the all-knowing eye to figure things out. And so and I am a Christian, I'm a woman of faith, and I do believe that like God has a plan and like he knows our story before we do. So like it is really juxtaposed in my mindset of like there are things that we might just not ever know, but also what can we do to help ourselves along the way. So that
Yeah.
is it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's a very gray area, but
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of life is in that gray area. And it's like, okay, what can we, for some losses, it is just a genetic component. It wasn't viable. The body does what it does. But then there's also plenty of times that there is a reason for it, right? And so it's like
Yeah.
figuring out or asking the questions, the curiosity, and saying, hey, can we look deeper? Is
Yes.
there something else that we can do to have success next time? And really, digging a little deeper can be so important
Yes.
just to get more information.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know me personally, I'm very appreciative of your transparency, Jocelyn, even though I know it's probably very difficult for you to share your story because it's personally helped me through our loss in March. Because otherwise I would have been like, oh, okay, so just me
Yeah.
doing this. Yeah.
I do feel we've come such a long way in the maternal space of like opening the floor to discussions of loss. And we have further to go.
Mm-hmm.
People grieve differently. People see pregnancy loss differently, and there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Mhm.
We have a friend at the gym who kept telling me that, like, um, there's no rule book for this. So you get to feel whatever you want to feel or whatever you are feeling, and you get to um like navigate this in your own way. And sometimes you might not know what that is, and so having guides along the way is helpful.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I think stories like this and sharing your story is very helpful too, because there are a lot of women who are experiencing it and maybe don't have someone in their community that is talking about it, or people aren't sharing. And so you feel like, well, how am I supposed to feel about this? How do I discuss this? Because oftentimes grief is something we've talked about before on other podcasts. It's so it comes in waves.
Yeah.
So you can be completely fine and then not. But like when it comes to pregnancy loss, people might not even know you've lost,
Yeah.
a child. For a lot of people there, it's not like public knowledge. And so like it's a very interesting position to be in where you're like grieving the loss of a person you've yet to meet in a way, but also that grief is so real,
Right.
obviously, but it's very unseen to other people. So you're like managing these relationships too
Yeah.
throughout all of it. And it's very isolating for a lot of people. So I think more stories like this, because a lot of women experience loss on a
Yes,
lot of different levels, and it is just not talked about enough.
it's not. Yeah. Um, Skylar, I'm curious if you can relate to this too, but being a woman serving mothers and new mothers specifically while navigating those losses was a really tricky spot to be in as well. There's certain babies at our gym that I associate their timelines with babies that I was going to have. Like I look at them and I'm like, I could have had a 9-month old. That is you. Like their due dates were the same time or whatnot. Um, And I do get asked because I share these stories with people like, well, how did you keep doing that? Like, how did you keep showing up for the new pregnant moms and the new postpartum moms? Um, and the answer is I don't really know. Like, I, I refuse to give up that part of me because I was already giving up so much. Um, so it was just like I just had to keep showing up and loving the people around me because they were loving me in return and supporting me in return, but it was like I had already been through this transition in my life where I like let go of a career and started something else. And I knew like deep down, like, no, like Coach Jocelyn is part of who I am. And I refuse to let this season of turmoil take that from me too. So,
Mhm.
um, I hope it came off as like coming from a place of love because I love what I do.
Have those exact same thoughts. Like the patient, because I was telling Megan about this, I feel like literally everyone is like, I'm pregnant right now. And I'm like, I never not feel happy for people, but
Yeah.
there's patients that I see that I'm like, oh, okay, well, I would have been, because I found out like when that they are pregnant, like when I found out, and I was like, okay, so I would have been this many weeks now, or
Yeah.
like, so it's
Yes.
just kind of weird.
It doesn't
But
mean that you're like caring for them less or that you're
mhm.
um jealous is not even like on the table as a descriptor. It's like it's just like a twinge of like,
A
oh,
longing.
It's a
yeah.
reminder of what could
Yeah.
have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a fair space to live in. I do think jealousy is not the right term for something like that.
Right.
It's
Right.
definitely more just I think it just triggers grief.
Yes. Yeah. It's a like a longing. Hmm.
Hmm.
I guess
Painful.
exposure therapy.
Yes. There
Especially
was
with what we do. We're literally around pregnant women and babies every day.
there was one time I was like still bleeding. I don't remember which miscarriage it was, but I was still bleeding. I was wearing like the giant pad, trying to like be comfortable in my athleisure with a giant pad, which is gross. I hate that. Um, Holding two babies, bouncing them, coaching, and being like, this is so fucked up. But like you just keep going, like
Yeah.
and part of that is on, I could have asked my staff to like sub for me, but like I just refused. Like I was like, no, like I'm not letting this take this part of my life away either. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm. But
Yes.
again, maybe a lesson to future self if that see,
To
you know,
take the time.
to take the time. Like that's valid and allowed.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah.
Well, we are coming up on an hour now. I it's been a great conversation and I've loved everything you've shared, but what do you want to like leave people with before we head off?
Yeah. I think if I had to like put a cap on anything, it's that motherhood demands flexibility and grace, and that often we're our hardest judges, where we judge ourselves as mothers the most, and as women the most. So just knowing that like you can be a warrior and you can wear so many hats, business owner, mother, friend, wife, etc. But just knowing that flexibility allows for general success and caring for other people demands that you care for yourself too. So
Mm,
that's what I would say.
that's excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful having you, and we'll see everyone next time at the table.